the 21st century, but I found a man who still actually does that and earns a living from it. His name is Robin Phillips. Robin, here's a very interesting vehicle. What's the history and the background behind it?
Right, this one's built out of 3 vehicles. It's a Transit 1984 chassis cab. The engine and gearbox is out of another Series 3 Transit bus, and the back, the bed and this canvas cover that you see, that's off of another old Transit, the original one that this body was put on. The body's built exactly the same methods and sizes of the old original gypsy caravans.
So it's got quite a background behind it then, really.
Background, quite a history. It's been in Spain, many times in Spain and Italy, several occasions down to Saint Marie de la Mer and southern France to the big gypsy festival. Ireland, of course, Scotland. I've been through Wales as well.
So it's been around a bit.
It's certainly been around a bit. It's done some travelling this way. Yeah.
Now you're one of the original travellers as well, I think,
Right.
aren't you?
Yes, I am indeed, yeah. Original travelling man, totally itinerant. I make my living on the road.
And where were you born and bred?
I was born and bred in Bollamenda, Wiltshire, on the Wiltshire-Dorset borders. That's where I originally come from.
Now your living is actually made out of knife grinding, isn't it?
Yes.
And we've got a couple of examples. Can we take a little look over here, Robin? This black model here.
Right.
Tell us about this one.
Right. This is a creation. They were all sort of handmade. There's no manufacturers, as far as I know, of actual grinding bikes. They were all produced by local blacksmiths or travelling men themselves. Just a basic principle of a V-belt coming off a bottom sprocket and driving these wheels, and you sat upon it and away you went. They were favoured by the old itinerant grinders because it was totally mobile.
Yeah.
You could cycle from village to village and through the lanes and through the towns, bit of a tent or whatever on your back, and sleeping rough as they used to do. And so they used to like them. And there you are, that's what they call the old original Phillips gents safety cycle. It's about 60 years old, that actual bike as well.
I was going to ask you actually, when do you think this sort of mobile grinding actually came into being? Was there a particular era?
Yeah, grinders started sharpening, I mean, way back since man has had tools. Obviously, I mean, you've got the building out of pyramids and the cathedrals and everything all around the world. So, I mean, there were a lot of those were itinerant. In this country, grinding as we sort of know it today, as I'm doing it, went back to, it really got going late in the 1700s and into the 1800s.
Yeah.
It was made easier in latter years because you had the bicycle, the roads were better. Some of the machines were a one-wheeled grinding barrow.
Were they?
They had one big wheel, like an upside-down wheelbarrow, and they were created on a wooden A-frame.
Yeah.
And you held the handles and pushed it, and when you stopped, you lifted the frame right over the top of the wheels. So the handles then came down where my feet are.
Yeah.
And you had you stood on it, one treadle board, which you connected to a crank, and pedalled it, and round went the big wheel with a leather strap on and ground the driving wheels. Then, of course, we got bicycles that were sensible machines and reliable, the roads were better, and got onto those.
And where did you find this model?
I found this in a garage. It was up for sale with some other old bicycles in a garage on my travels down through the Wiley Valley. That's where I found this one. Done a deal, and there we are.
And did it need a lot of restoration doing to it?
Not a great deal, no. No, not a great deal. Just sorted out the wheels and the bits and pieces and the panniers on the back, and of course I put my signs on it.
Yeah.
So
I see we've got a little box here on the back.
Toolbox there covers all the bits and pieces. We've got a vise in here, which is an essential part of the grinder's toolkit. Obviously, we've got there we are. That screws on there.
Yeah.
A few tools and bits and pieces all in here. Look for our working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of things would these panniers have carried in their time on the side here?
Well, I suppose years ago you'd have had your few bits of clothes and odds and bobs and pieces, and there's quite an interesting article actually in here, which is the old billy can, of course, which was always favoured.
The old refreshments.
The old refreshment. The true story of that one, it was owned and worked in South Wales in the coal mines. It's a miner's billy can.
So it's of Welsh origin.
It's of Welsh origin. And I bought it in Wales on my travels through one time when we were going to Ireland.
I can see it's fairly discoloured inside there.
Yeah, with the old strong tea. And that's the truth, because the lady I bought it off of, in Carmarthen. She knew the history of that, and that's an old miner's billy can. I've used it, and it serves me well, so perhaps the old miner will be thinking of me when I have a brew up myself. I expect he's up there watching this now.
Absolutely
There
right,
we
and
go.
certainly on a fine day like
lovely
today,
day like this
you
here
know,
at Abbey Hill. It's
you
beautiful.
could make a strong brew yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Let's go over to this one here, Robin. This goes back even further in time, doesn't it?
These